Hello, my name is Michael Stewart. I'm a glass pool fence installer and I'm a glass pool fence hardware designer and manufacturer. And I'm just making this video. It's a bit rough and ready, but I'm just trying to give the people that are tasked with making decisions on Australian standards regarding pool fencing, specifically glass gates. I'd just like to impart some information that I've learned over the last 10 to 15 years. Basically, what we have on the market at the moment is predominantly spring hinges for glass pool fencing. Now, spring hinges have been around for a while. I think there's some basic fundamental flaws with spring hinges that now can be addressed due to new technology coming into the market. But a couple of things that I want to explain are the fundamental issues with spring hinges are there's no control over the door, over the gate. So potentially what you have is a situation where the gate will come back in a hard fashion and close hard to the latching panel or to the post or whatever it closes to. The other important thing is an installer that is actually supplying their customer with a spring hinge. At the end of the job, when he's showing the end client the finished product, he may have talked the client into using a spring hinge because he suggested that it's as good as anything else on the market and so on. So what happens is he at the end of the job, he sets up the tension on the spring hinge, and he doesn't want it to slam or close hard. He actually will set it up in a way that it will close in a relatively soft function. But what that is actually doing is it's leaving the hinge open to a situation where in a short amount of time the hinge may not close by itself, because in actual fact the installer didn't tension the hinge up enough to close every time. So spring hinges quite often get used in a way where the homeowner will open them all the way back, and sometimes, which is not a good idea, they may open them and tension them and keep them open. So they're extending the spring all the way. So what that does is it actually weakens the spring and creates a situation where just from this point here, it only needs the slightest amount of wind and it'll keep it open. Now, this is an example of a new soft close hinge that's available on the market, been fully tested. It's our product, but I'm not trying to push our product. There are numerous soft close hinges available on the market. But some of the fundamental improvements are the spring has much more pre-tension because we don't have to worry about the slamming aspect. So there's much more pre-tension in this hinge. So from 100 mil open, the hinge has a much more positive close, where a spring hinge is likely to have less force and be more susceptible to wind or blowing or whatever. You know, the other very important thing regarding spring hinges is the hinge may last forever, but because of the aggressive closing You have to be concerned about the panels that hold the hinges, the panel that holds the latch. You have to be concerned with the latch itself. Can it take this abuse? You know, so this type of hinge can be very detrimental to the fence surrounding the gate. So it's a situation that, you know, everything around a spring hinge gate needs to be reinforced, where a soft closing hinge, whether it be ours or anyone else's, will technically not affect the integrity of the fence. It will actually improve the longevity of the fence. You know, this technology has been around for a while. Obviously, any of these hinging systems need to be tested to Australian standards, of course, but the advantages of having a soft closing hinge compared to a spring hinge are obvious. Spring hinges, the cheaper installers, they can purchase a pair of spring hinges for $45 a pair. Now, the market is being flooded with spring hinges from multiple Chinese companies that are supplying these products. There's no way to identify them. Working out whether they have been tested or they haven't been tested, whether they're using the right springs or the right material, it's impossible. So if the less scrupulous installers are left to their own devices, they will buy and use the cheapest product they can get their hands on. So, you know, the gates are obviously the most important part of the whole fence. If the gate is not shutting by itself, the latch doesn't even come into play, because the closing mechanism hasn't even got it to the latching point. So the hinges are the most important part of the gate, and if they don't work properly, everyone knows most of the problems with pool fences are caused by faulty gates, and spring hinges are just leaving the door open for major problems in the future. The unsuspecting homeowner who is talked into using a cheap product may have to adjust it much sooner than anyone would anticipate. So what happens then? People don't adjust things, people forget, people technically can't do it. Now this is when there's new technology available, this is it's very hard to understand how this could be a viable option for glass gates. I just wanted to point out a couple of things to people who are tasked with understanding how things work. There's nothing more important than a child-proof safety gate that is made for saving children's lives. So I felt like it would be remiss of me not to impart some knowledge on the people that are making these decisions. And you know, if anyone would like more information on how these things work, we're available, and it will be on the email that this video is linked to. Thank you.